There's a town called Adenvale. It is not a famous town. It has a hardware store, a diner, a school, and a road lined with modest houses. It also has 2 factories, sitting at opposite ends of the same street. Both factories make buckets. Yep, buckets. The kind you fill with water, carry to a job site, leave in a closet. They are not complicated. They are not glamorous. They are, by most measures, the most ordinary product in the world. Both factories buy their materials from the same suppliers. Both hire their workers from the same neighborhoods. Both pay rent, electricity, and taxes. If you drove past them on a Tuesday afternoon, you would not know which one was which. But inside, they are very different places. The first is called Apex Bucket Company. It is run by a man named Norman Hicks. He is sharp, well organized, and talks about business the way a surgeon talks about anatomy, with great precision and confidence. He believes the purpose of a business is to make as much money as possible. He does not think this is controversial. In fact, he thinks it's just honest. The second is called Steadman Bucket Works. It is run by a woman named Janet Holmes. She is equally sharp, equally organized. She also cares about money, maybe even more so because she has to. But if you asked her what the factory is for, she gives a different answer. She'll say, "We make buckets that work. Everything else flows from that." Same town, same product. 2 different ideas about what success means. Norman Hicks runs his Monday morning meetings the same way every week. Numbers first. Margin, output, labor cost, material variance. He moves fast and expects clarity. He has a saying, if it doesn't show up on the bottom line, it doesn't show up. He's not mean about it, it's simply his North Star. When a supervisor once mentioned that the polymer mix seemed a little thin, Hicks asked one question and one question only.
Has the customer complained?
If the answer was no, he moved on. Janet Holmes' Monday meetings are different. She starts with one question, what broke and why? Then a follow-up. What did we learn this week that we didn't know last week? Afterwards, she gets to the numbers. A new employee once asked why she ran her meetings this way.
Because if the buckets don't work, nothing else matters. And if we stop learning, we're going to start falling behind. I'd rather hear about bad news on Monday than lose a customer on Thursday.
Clara Reyes runs a small cleaning company. 6 employees, 2 vans, and a list of clients she has spent years building up. She is careful about her equipment. Buckets are not glamorous to her, but they do matter. They are part of her work. When a sales rep from Apex called and offered her a price 15% below what she had been paying, she obviously said yes. Why wouldn't she? Then the buckets arrived. They looked fine. She handed them out to her crew and forgot about them. 6 weeks later, a handle pulled free mid-job. Dirty water across the client's floor. She apologized, had it cleaned up, and told herself it was just a fluke. 3 weeks after that, one crack along the base, a slow leak, another spill, another client, another apology. By the end of the year, she had replaced nearly half of the order. The 15% discount was gone, eaten up by replacement costs, callbacks, and the low-grade stress of not quite trusting her own equipment. She did not order from Apex again. A contractor named David Park had been buying from Steadman Bucket Works for 11 years. He had never thought much about it. The buckets just worked. He replaced them when they wore out, not when they gave out. He had been offered cheaper options twice. Both times he passed.
You see, I know what I'm getting from Steadman, and that's worth something to me. I've realized that every time I try to save $1, I end up paying for it somewhere else,
he told his business partner once. David could not have told you anything about how the buckets were made, or who made them, or what decisions went into the plastic. He just knew that when he picked one up on the job site, he did not have to think about it. And when he needed buckets at home, Steadman was naturally the default choice. The same goes for his employees. That kind of trust is quiet. It does not announce itself. But once it is gone, you notice it immediately. and it is very hard to get back. Inside Apex Bucket Company, things moved very fast. Pay was kept low. The logic was very simple. Bucket making is not complicated, and new workers could be trained up to speed in just 2 weeks. High turnover costs less than higher wages. That was the math, and the math was done carefully. Machines ran until they broke, then they got fixed. There were 2 small equipment fires in just 3 years. Luckily, no one was seriously injured. Both were handled quietly. Apex workers learned quickly what the job rewarded: keeping numbers up and keeping problems out of sight. If something was wrong but manageable, it stayed that way on the floor. Managers who surfaced bad news found that bad news had a way of becoming their problem, so they stopped surfacing it. Now, the people were not bad. Most of them worked really hard, but they had learned something. Without anyone ever saying it to them directly, they learned that they were replaceable. And when people know they are replaceable, they stop investing in the place where they work. Why would they? The place had not invested in them. Steadman Bucket Works was not a relaxed place. Janet Holmes ran a tight operation, but it was run on different principles. Every new hire spent at least 3.5 weeks learning alongside an experienced senior worker before taking on their own station. Not as a nicety, but because Holmes had found out years earlier that workers who fully understood the process made fewer mistakes, caught problems earlier, and stayed around longer. The training paid for itself. There was a small whiteboard near the quality station where anyone could write down anything they found unusual, such as a material that seemed a little off, a mold that looked a little too worn, or maybe a run of handles that felt just a little too light. Every week, someone reviewed this board. Most notes led nowhere. Some notes prevented big problems. A man named Marcus had worked at Steadman for over 14 years. He had been offered slightly more money elsewhere twice. He had said no both times.
I know what I'm doing here, and they treat the work like it really matters,
He said when someone asked about why he passed on the jobs. Marcus could not explain it more precisely than that, but his judgment on materials was trusted more than the instruments and expertise he had accumulated from over a decade of meticulous care for his craft. His error rate was the lowest on the floor. When something went wrong on his shift, he would say so immediately, his practiced eye having detected the subtle flaws long before any machine registered a warning. This kind of employee is not hired. Marcus's expertise was grown and nurtured, slowly, over the years, by an institution that treats people as if they are worth developing. By the 5th year of Apex operation in Addenvale, something had shifted in the neighborhood near the factory. Wages in local manufacturing had drifted downwards. Apex was one of the larger employers, and its pay had set a kind of ceiling for the area. Workers who couldn't get a job at Apex moved to whatever was next. Several families dealt with the kind of instability that is hard to name but clearly felt. Jobs didn't last. No savings were building up. Skills went nowhere. 2 suppliers had quietly cut corners after Hicks pushed them for a 5th straight price reduction. One of them had supplied unsafe materials used in a product that ended up in people's homes. That product was recalled, but nobody at Apex tracked this connection. The factory was still there, it paid taxes, it showed up in the local paper as a business success. None of that was wrong, but the community around it had become, in small ways, a little more worn down. Across town, things had compounded very differently around Steadman. Workers who stayed at Steadman tend to stay in Addenvale. They bought houses. Their kids went to the local school. A few former employees started their own small businesses, such as specialty parts providers, repair services, fabrication shops. All of these former employees knew that Steadman would be a reliable customer and vendor. Marcus, our veteran Steadman employee, had his daughter enroll in a high school internship program at Steadman. And because of that, she found a passion for industrial material engineering and was planning to study this for her bachelor's degree. None of this was the result of a community program. It was the result of a factory that treated people decently and kept its word. That kind of thing spreads, not quickly and not in ways that show up in a quarterly report. But over the decades, it shows. A professor named Richard Johnson visited Steadman as part of a research project on small manufacturers. After the tour, he sat with Janet Holmes in her office and asked the question that had been brewing in his mind all morning.
Your margins are decent, but your competitors' numbers often look stronger on paper, at least in the short term. Why do you run things the way you do?
Holmes thought for a moment.
Do you know what a liver does? It processes everything the body takes in. It filters toxins, supports digestion, helps regulate the blood. It's one of the hardest working organs there are. Now, it does none of this for itself. It doesn't hoard the nutrients it handles. Its whole job is to support the rest of the body.
She paused.
If a liver starts working only for itself, it stops filtering and starts accumulating, you don't get a healthier liver. You get a sick body. So you're saying business is the same? Yes, it's similar. A business is an organ. You see, it's part of the life of this town. It's part of the supply chain, the people who work here. The business's job is to contribute something to the larger thing it's a part of. Now, if the business makes money by burning through people, selling things that fail, squeezing everyone around it, it's not really creating value now, is it? It's only taking. And at some point, there's going to be nothing left to take. How is that a strategy? Well, it's not so much a strategy as it is a reality. I mean, we have to make money. 46 families depend on this place still being here next year. And money is the fuel that keeps us going. But it's not why we're here. We're here to make solid buckets.
Across town, Norman Hicks was dealing with a problem he did not fully understand. Returns were up, but a big contractor had quietly stopped ordering and wasn't returning calls. 2 of his best supervisors had left, both for jobs that paid less, which made no sense to him until he read their exit notes. Both had used the word culture. Hicks had not thought of his company as having a culture, he had only thought of it as having operations. A local story ran about wages in Adamvale's manufacturing sector. Apex was not directly named, but the numbers were recognizable. You see, Apex was still profitable. The company was not collapsing, but each shortcut Hicks had taken, each cost he had squeezed out of the system, had made the whole thing slightly more brittle. And brittle systems do not fail suddenly, all at once. They fail quietly, one small thing at a time, until one day, the weight of it is impossible to ignore. Hicks was an intelligent man, but he had simply never asked the one question he should have from the start. What is our mission? The point of this story is not that profits are bad. It isn't. Every organization needs to make money. Without it, the doors close and everybody goes home. The point is what happens when profits become the sole focus, when every decision flows from how do we make more money rather than how do we do this well. When profit is the guiding light, there is always something else that can be squeezed. A worker's wages, a material's quality, a supplier's margin, a community's trust. And squeezing feels like efficiency, right up until the whole system collapses. You see, when contribution is the guiding light, profit is still necessary, but it takes a proper place. It is what keeps the work going, but it is not what the work is for. A factory that makes good buckets, treats its people honestly, and holds up its little corner of the town is not being naive. It understands that the conditions around it, the workers, the suppliers, the community, the trust, are not free resources to be used up. They are the foundation the business is built on. Protect the foundation. Do the work well. The rest will follow. The end. So, what do you think about this little story? Do you agree with the concepts presented today? I'd love to hear what you think in the comments below. It always generates a wonderful discussion. Now, if you found this useful, please like and subscribe and share it with somebody who might like a little business story. As always, thank you so much for your time and attention. I'll see you again soon.